Hey mama, if you're listening to this, you might be carrying a secret that feels too heavy to speak out loud. You look like you got it all together, you serve at church, maybe you even lead a Bible study. You smile when you drop off the kids, but no one sees the other side of you, the one that comes out behind closed doors. At home, you are a completely different person. You yell, you explode, you scream at your kids, sometimes in their face. You tell them to shut up. You grab them too harshly. You throw things across the room. You smack them in anger, twist their ears, spank them in rage, and immediately after, you are hit with a tidal wave of shame. You cry alone in your room and you whisper, "God, what is wrong with me?" You feel scared and disgusted by your own reactions. You're terrified that someone might find out. You wonder if your kids would be better off without you. You feel unworthy, broken, and too far gone to be redeemed. You try to fix this on your own. You listen to podcasts, parenting books, download freebies, but nothing changes. You keep falling back into the same patterns, and it feels like you are stuck in a cycle that you can't break. You don't trust yourself anymore, and if you're honest, you are afraid of who you've become. But here's the truth, Mama. You are not beyond hope. You're not alone, and with God's help and the right support, you can change. I'm Elizabeth, a mom of 4 and an anger management coach for Christian moms. And inside my Calm Christian Mom coaching program, I guide women just like you through a powerful transformation. This isn't shallow behavior management. We go deep. We address your triggers, your stress, your mindset, your nervous system, and the spiritual root behind your patterns. We invite God into every layer and walk hand in hand towards healing. In just 12 weeks, you can become a completely different mom, unrecognizable. One who leads with patience, not panic. One whose children feel emotionally safe around her. One who cultivates peace. This summer, I'm offering a Calm Mama strategy session, a powerful 15-minute one-on-one coaching session designed to help you uncover the root of your anger and receive spiritual, emotional, and practical support. It's your chance to experience what coaching is like with me before diving deeper into ongoing support. If we both feel like the full program is the next right step, we can talk about what that looks like for you. You don't have to keep living like this. Your family is worth healing, and so are you. Use the link in the show notes to book the Calm Mama strategy session. Hey friends, welcome to Emotionally Healthy Legacy Podcast. Today I have Brandi on the podcast. She just recently graduated Calm Christian Mom Coaching Program, and she is here to share her story, a little bit about herself and what was going on in her life that she decided to reach out for support and the transformation she experienced after working together for 12 weeks. So Brandi, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
Yes. I'm so glad that you're here too. Can you share a little bit about you?
I work full time. I have one son and one stepson. They're both the same age. They're both 10. Our stepson comes mostly every other weekend, and my son is here with us full time in the house with my husband and I.
Tell me what was going on in your life that you're like, hey, I actually need some help.
Okay. I think it was just over time. It was just like a downhill spiral that I had been noticing, and it had been going on for quite some time. So I had realized this in my mind, and I could feel myself being easily to anger, more stressed, just negative, bitter, like an angry mom. And it was starting to feel like it was more times than not. So I started just looking up podcasts and and I ran into some of your podcast and I started listening to those. I was trying to figure things out on my own, doing different things for myself. But then just one day I decided to go ahead and reach out to you for some much needed help.
Yes, yes. And as we go a little bit deeper in the interview, we will share a little bit more about your two biggest things that you were struggling with when you joined the coaching program was control, wanting
Hmm.
to control your son a lot, and that would cause a lot of frustration when he would give you resistance
Yes.
and not cooperate. And then the other part was a lot of negative thoughts, just a lot of unmet expectations and just negative thoughts that were contributing to a lot of frustration and anger. So, how was anger affecting your relationship with your husband and your son?
Gosh, it was like I mentioned before, I could feel myself feeling angry and uneasy. And sometimes it would be for no reason at all. It would just carry over to the next day, to the next day, to the next. So I remember my son one day, he said, "Nothing that I do is ever right." And he was crying and he like seemed to have had a breakdown that particular day. And my husband, we were kind of just going through the motions. I think he felt uneasy at home. He didn't feel comfortable celebrating his wins with me or his son's wins with me just to keep the peace. So everybody was really walking on eggshells in our house for a while.
How was your mood affecting your husband and your son?
My mood definitely set the mood for the entire house. So if I came in just barking out orders or not very pleasant, not very welcoming, not very loving, I think they tried. My husband is a very loving person, a very kind person, very emotional person. He would try to get me in a better mood, but I could tell it was very draining for him as well. So my mood definitely set the mood in the house. And it was just everybody was just super uncomfortable. We were all kind of like butting heads a lot and just a lot of tension between our family.
And just like your son said, nothing I ever do is good enough.
Mm,
So maybe whatever
right.
your husband did, whatever your son did,
Oh,
you were
he
still not
definitely,
happy with it.
yes. And they both felt the same. And I'm pretty sure my husband has said the same thing prior to me joining the program. Like, gosh, nothing we do is, yeah.
Yeah. Well, do you remember when you first joined the coaching program? I had you do I am statements and like phrases that you say about yourself, who you are as a person, on a regular basis, how you feel about
Hmm.
yourself. Do you
Hmm.
remember any of those I am statements that describe the kind of mom and wife you were when you first joined the coaching program?
Yes, I remember writing those down. And I remember saying that, I am angry. I am hard to please. I am short tempered. I am not a happy and pleasant mom.
I think you said
Negative.
and
I'm a
controlling.
controlling. Yes, those were probably the top two.
And I think when I have all the moms do that in the beginning of the program, I think it opens their eyes a little bit to who they believe they are. And the other thing is, I ask you guys to ask your husband and your children who, like, for them to describe you, what kind of mom you are. And
Hmm.
sometimes that is really eye opening to us to put it on paper. It's like, oh, wow, this is how I behave at home. This is how my husband perceives me. This is how my children perceive me. And that really encourages us to make a difference because by the time moms join my program, typically they are in a place they're like, I am ready and willing to do the work. Whatever it takes, I'm going to do this work because however things are going right now, this is not sustainable. I don't like it. I don't want it to continue like this. And I am willing to put in the work. So, when you
Mhm.
first joined the coaching program, what were your fears? Because on our consultation call, at the
Mhm.
end of the call, you're like, I think I just need to think about it. It's like you knew you wanted it, but then you were afraid a little bit to take the next step. So, what was going on in your mind? What was the fear that was holding you back to take the next step?
I think the biggest thing for me was just feeling embarrassed,
Mm.
honestly. I have friends, I have my son's baseball team, the moms that I sit with, the my sons when we go to wrestling, the moms that we've met there, and I feel like I was the only one that had these types of feelings. So the number one thing for me was just being embarrassed and having to tell all these things because I wanted to do it, but I knew that I was going to have to tell you absolutely everything. And I know how I felt about myself. So I could just only imagine how a stranger may feel. So that was the main concern for me. But two, just change in general. I knew that I wanted to change. I knew that I needed to change. I honestly felt like if I did not, then there would be no way that my husband could continue this marriage with me. And I honestly felt that if I did not move a step forward or make some changes, or at least join the program and try, that even the relationship with my son could be damaged in the end. So, but the main concern was changing, having to change, and just being a little embarrassed.
Yeah, change is scary. It is scary to do
Yes.
something different and to step out of our comfort zone to make an investment that we've never done before. It is scary. And so, if anyone is listening to this, you're not alone having the feelings of feeling scared to reach out and ask for help and to take the step of investment. It's supposed to feel a little scary because it's new. And if you've never done it before, and every time we do something new, there's a little bit of fear. And also the feeling of embarrassment and shame, really.
Yes.
That big feeling, that is a huge feeling that keeps a lot of people stuck exactly where they are. And as Christians, we know that shame is not from the Lord, it's from the enemy. And the reason the enemy gives us that shame and those negative thoughts is because he wants us to stay stuck. He does not want us to reach out and ask for help. He doesn't want us to bring this into the light and be like, hey, I am struggling and I need help in this area. And here's everything that is going on. And that is really hard to do. It takes so much vulnerability and courage to do that. So I just am so thankful that you were able to do that because now you get to share a story of transformation.
Yeah. I'm
What was
sorry. I'm
Yeah,
going to cry. Yeah. Ugh, okay.
it's a good thing. It's
Oh,
a good thing.
yes, it is.
It's a transformation that it's worth to have those tears because it's happy
Hmm.
tears.
Yes. Very happy tears.
What was your experience like when you joined
Oh,
the program?
gosh. The whole thing was great for me. I think I maybe told you this, but the day that I called and I was trying to back out, I was like, oh, maybe I need to think about it. But I went ahead and I think I gave the down payment. I can't remember exactly how all that works, but I immediately felt like a weight had been lifted. Like, okay, this is going to be great. This is exactly what I needed. So I went in, even though I was a little hesitant, I went in with a open mind. I was ready to make changes. I I realize how precious my family is to me. So the experience I was just ready to get started. And it just every step of the way, I enjoyed the coursework, the calls with the other moms. It was all amazing. Being able to talk to you one on one and just having that constant feedback was really what I needed, even on the days that there were still some bumps in the road. There were still things that come up, and I could feel my old tendencies. I could feel me getting angry and short-tempered, but remember just messaging you, on the Voxer app, and immediately there's a response and a solution. So it was really life-changing for me, honestly.
Yeah, I'm so thankful and just thrilled
Yeah,
that you had such great positive experience. We'll get to that in just a little bit because
yeah.
it has completely changed your relationships with your son and your husband and the whole home atmosphere and the dynamic. What was your favorite part of the program?
I really enjoyed listening to the other moms every week. I really needed that because, like I mentioned before, I felt like I was the only mom that had these terrible feelings. So I constantly, you know, had negative thoughts in my mind. And like you said, the enemy was telling me it's you, there's something wrong with you. So I was constantly trying to figure out in my mind, what is wrong with me? Why am I this way? And this is just how I'm going to be. But to hear the moms, and there was one mom in particular when she shared bits and pieces of her story, I felt for her, and I felt, I wanted to reach out to her. I wanted to help her, and just her whole story inspired me to continue working and trying my best. And so that was really such a good aspect of the program, is just having other moms in here and their stories as well.
Yeah, that's my
And
favorite part too, is
mhm,
the group coaching calls because
yeah,
you guys get to hear sometimes we have these questions in our mind, but we can't think of them. And then someone else asks a question. You're like, oh, I relate to that too. I've experienced that, but I would have never thought of that question. And we get to talk that through and get coaching on that. And it's my favorite part, the weekly coaching calls.
yes,
I just, every time I'm off the coaching call, I feel so fulfilled. And also when I teach it, it reminds me of the things that like maybe I forgot to implement that with my kids, but it reminds me that, oh, I can do that too with my kids. When you reteach it, you're like, oh, that's right. There's a solution to the
right,
problem.
right. And then every week you get that, and you get that constant reassurance every week. So it just gets better and better and better. So by the end, you feel like you have listened to all these different things that all these moms have went through and what they've done and how you responded to that, and giving back positive feedback. So yeah, the calls were great. Very, very helpful.
Yeah. Would you
Yeah.
say there was something hard about the program? What would you say maybe was the hardest part for you?
I don't think there was any, of it hard. I enjoyed the lessons, and I think I really needed that to dive deep and figure out some things about myself and why I react the way that I do sometimes. So I felt like I really needed that. I really needed the coursework. I look forward to doing that every day, but none of it was hard. I mean, it was very much needed. And to me, I feel like it's not always easy to go through and really be honest and kind of holding yourself accountable. So that may be hard for some. I felt like I really needed it. So after I would go through the assignments and I would journal, I felt much relief. I felt better. I felt like I was kind of figuring out things about myself that I had kind of buried down deep for a long time. So, but
Yeah.
none of it was hard.
One of the things that I really like about the coaching program and the way that it's structured is that you have about 4 videos, sometimes 5, but usually about 4 videos a week that you get to listen to, or you can watch them. And
Mhm.
each video comes with reflection questions. So when we listen to podcasts or audiobooks, oftentimes it's like we listen to the book or the podcast and we just kind of go on with our day. But here
Mhm.
you need to ponder and reflect on what you just learned and how does this apply to your life. And
Right.
there's really great questions that help you dive a little bit deeper and like, why do I do what I do? Why is my reaction this way? What am I trying to get when I have this sort of reaction, and how can I do things differently moving forward? And all of that really slows your brain down, and that's important. It helps you decompress and calm your nervous system, and it also helps you ponder and reflect. So then moving forward, you can make different choices versus just hearing the information. That's great. And unless we're actually doing something to rewire our brain to shift things around, like we do vision writing, is to rewire our brain to do things differently, to think differently, to speak differently, to act differently in the way that is God honoring and is aligned with who we want to be. And then that's when we see the transformation. And in the first few weeks, I feel like you reached out a lot more to me through Voxer just for some,
Yes.
extra guidance. Later on in the program, you were doing great. But the first, I would say, month, and that is so normal. Most moms do that. It's like, hey, I have this situation. I'm stuck here. I'm struggling with my mindset here. And how can I redirect my perspective? Or so let's
Mhm.
talk about, you had two biggest things from what I've noticed is you struggled with controlling your son a lot and just trying to control circumstances and other people. And then the other thing was negative mindset, just a lot of negative automatic thoughts about your husband, about your son, and that produced negative feelings and frustration and anger. I would love for you to speak a little bit on that. What was your biggest revelation about all of that?
Okay. Well, a lot of what I'd done before the program is control. So I would want my son to do XYZ as soon as I asked him to. And I expected my husband to do certain things or the way that I expected him to do it, really without me even saying. And there was no grace period. Like it was just do it now or that's it. I'm going to be mad for the rest of the day. With my son, most of his was like, because he is a little busy. I mean, he's 10, he's a boy, he's very active in things. And I am very active, but it's kind of a lot sometimes when you go to work and you get home and there's all these things that he wants to do. And so my thing was a big deal was the homework. Do the homework now. Don't do it later. Eat dinner at this time. Just very routine. I like a structure. And when they would go off of that would be like a trigger for me. And I would always have something, snappy to say back. Like I said, there was no grace period for them to say, hey, I want to play first and then I'm going to do my homework. And I remember you mentioning that to me, like, what if he didn't do it right away? What if he did it a little bit later? Does it really matter? Or what if he doesn't brush his teeth right before bath time? Can he do it after? And before, for whatever reason, I didn't want him to do it that way. I wanted him to do it my way. So those were some examples of simple things that would just set me off that were really no big deal at all.
Yeah, like the micro controlling of the insignificant things that have no eternal value. It's just the daily things that in your mind you want them a certain way. And it felt hard
Mhm.
to surrender that and be like, well, we can adjust and do things a little bit differently. It's still going to get done. It's just going to look a little bit differently. And the problem with micro controlling is when we try to micro control, the other person's going to give us resistance. Anybody. Like,
Mhm.
I don't like to be micro-controlled. You don't like to be micro-controlled. And so, if your husband was very controlling, you'd give resistance because it's a natural tendency. We all want some sort of self-control. And that would create that tension that you explained with your son and with your husband. What about your negative perspective? Because we worked a lot on mindset
Ooh,
and shifting your
yeah,
thoughts, negative, automatic negative thoughts. They just creep in. You don't have to invite them, they just come.
right.
Um, Tell me a little bit about that. What would you say was maybe one or two thoughts that you would experience on a regular basis that would cause a lot of frustration and anger towards your family?
Okay. One big one for me was my husband and his son, and then his stepson, which is my son. So a lot of times I would look for the negative in what he's done between the two boys. So just for an example, oh gosh, and this is so hard to really admit, but you already know. But one example may be, well, the way that he hugged him was different from the way that he hugged my son. So I was constantly looking for the differences between what he's done for both boys. That was my huge problem, and not really appreciating him for what he did do. Another negative thought that constantly came up to me was my son just, it was never good enough. Even if he played baseball, well, you struck out. You didn't hit the ball, or you didn't catch the ball in the outfield. Just constantly, well, you didn't make 100 on the test, you made a 90. So just constantly going right for the negative, never going for the positive first.
And so tell me how you shifted that.
Okay. I felt like this took a long time, and I really felt that a lot of the lessons were resonated with me, and it was a little repetitive, but it helped me so much because it was such a huge problem for me. The control, the negative mindset, the mindset shifts. Like I said earlier, I just enjoyed the work so much. But what I had done was, with the mindset shifts, when we would leave baseball practice, for one example, I would say, you really did great. I would not even mention the things that if he made an error or if it wasn't his best game, I would always focus on what he's done positive, how well he's done on this test or how well he's done at school. I would focus on what he's done positive, how well he's done on this test or how well he's done at school. And the same with my husband, instead of just sitting there looking for him to do one thing wrong, I'm so thankful for him and all that he's done. And without him, my son wouldn't have a father figure. So I'm constantly now thinking of what a difference he's made in our life. And we are so lucky to have him. And there's no difference between his son and my son. He treats them both very good, and they are both extremely lucky to have him. So,
Yeah, we did a lot of work in this area, and you've come such a long way to be able to recognize the negative thought. And even now, like if you have a negative thought, you're able to recognize it. And you're like, oh, this is a negative thought that's producing negative feelings. And this is how I can redirect it and shift it over to an empowering perspective. And instead of all focusing on the lack, all the things that's not happening, that are not going my way, what is going great? And what am I grateful for my husband and with my son? Because I think it's hard for all of us. Like if we can like imagine we were at home with like little kids all day long, and then the husband comes through the door and tripping over some toys. And, the house is a little messy. The kids are running around, the dinner's not still fully ready. And he's like, oh my gosh, look at this. The house is still a mess. You never cleaned up, blah, 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 blah. And he's pointing out all the things you didn't do. Though, what about all the things I did do? I fed the kids breakfast and I cleaned
right.
up. I fed them lunch and I cleaned up. I put them down for a nap. I picked up the house during that time. Like I made some phone calls. Like there's so much stuff that we do. And then if our husband just pointed out all the negative, that would be so difficult. And that would not encourage us to keep going to do the positive. So it's so helpful to recognize, wait, how is my negativity affecting him? Like, is that motivating him to show up in a better way, or is that actually making things more difficult and harder? And so, you being able to recognize that and being able to shift out of that. And now, how has your relationship changed with your husband and your son? At what point in the program did you start noticing positive changes, and how did that impact your relationships?
Okay. It didn't happen overnight, if I remember correctly. I mean, I was probably like halfway there, halfway done, maybe even a little longer than that. And it just, all of the pieces of the puzzle came together for me. And not that the negative thoughts didn't come, not that I didn't want to go back to those negative ways, but I was so in tune with it, and I had been working on it so much that I knew how to shift the thoughts. I knew that the things that I was looking for was, not necessarily true. And it changed my relationship with my family so much. Like I said earlier, my son would say, and he would do this often, nothing I do is ever good enough. You never let me have fun. You always compare me. And now, I mean, he's just has this confidence about him. And I don't think it's all me. I think he's done some things. He's grown a little bit, matured a little bit. But I definitely think that I'm a big part of that, in just the way that he responds and acts, and just his overall confidence is so much better. And we're not yelling and fussing over the small, simple things like clothes. If he wants to wear his whatever he wants, that's fine. I don't have to control that. And then it's so much easier for me.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's
Yeah,
such a mental relief when you like mentally make the shift. I'm choosing to let this go. Like it feels so much lighter than trying to control and have resistance, trying to get your way, and
yes,
the other person's resisting you. You're like, you know what? I'm just gonna let this go. Doesn't really matter in the long run
yeah,
which pair of shorts he wears when we go to my friends. It really doesn't matter. I'm choosing to
right,
let it go. It's insignificant. It's not a heart issue. It's not like it's not a eternal problem in a sense like lying or something like that. Or it's not a
right,
character quality that we need to try to press on. Because yes, there's certain things that our kids do that, like if someone is lying or being sneaky or being disrespectful, those are things that we need to definitely lean into and parent our kids and be intentional with. And if it's those minor things that we can just literally make a shift in our mind, like I'm choosing to let it go. It's okay.
hmm.
There's other things that are more important. I'm choosing to let it go. There's just so much sense of relief. What is your favorite current resource that you are still using that you learned in the coaching program?
Taking time for myself and not being overbooked, not feeling like I have to do everything. That was one big thing for me. And saying no, if I have to say no, this is not a good day. We cannot go here today. I've had a long week, taking the long baths on Friday nights, just doing the things that I need to do so that I am better for my family
Mhm.
emotionally. So I really have enjoyed that. The journaling, I really found that in the morning was the best time for me, and just having that really set the mood for the entire day, and just being able to identify, what doesn't serve me, and sticking to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Hmm.
you're not the only client of mine that took on the Friday night bath night.
Yes,
That is
yes, so
a
nice.
routine that I've had for years. I mean, once in a while, maybe if something's on the schedule, I'll miss it. But even if it's later in the night, it's like it's Friday night is my bath night. No one's allowed to do laundry that night. So
Yes,
I can have my
yes,
bath, or no one else is allowed to take a bath. You have other days of the week to do it, but
yeah.
Friday night is mom's bath night. Get my bath salts and essential oils and just it's my time. I like to watch a show or something because typically I don't sit down and watch a show. It's
Um,
like my nice time to just relax. So I love it, and I love that my clients are implementing that
yes, so nice.
yeah, practice as well. A few more questions. Now that you're done with the coaching program, how would you describe yourself today as a mom?
Oh, gosh. I would say that I'm much more patient mom, much more positive, much more loving, more fun. I don't think my son is afraid to come and tell me things. I think he enjoys the time that we have together. He feels good when he's around me, which is
You are a safe person for him.
a safe person. Whereas before, I definitely don't think I was that person for him. But a kind mom, loving. So all the things that I struggled with before, on most days, most of the time, more often than not, all those things for him.
Mhm. Yeah,
Hmm.
and even if you do have a hard moment, if you do feel triggered, you do feel frustrated, you do feel angry, you know what to do about it. Not to get
Yes.
pulled into that emotion and to be able to communicate clearly and
Hmm.
being able to process those emotions in a healthy way and shift your mindset. When it's sometimes it's just a mindset thing. Shift your mindset and be able to de-escalate and completely turn things around because of shifting your perspective. Where do you think you would be today if you did not do this work?
Oh, I think it would have continued. I think the cycle would have continued because, like you just mentioned, I didn't have the tools to change my mindset. I, constantly had these negative feelings and thoughts, and it would just lead over to the next day. So I was often wondering, like, why would my husband want to stay here? Because he is such a positive and kind person. I think that, possibly our marriage would have ended, which would have been devastating for my son. I think that I would have never really got to the core of some of my issues and not been able to work through those and just let go of some of those things and be a much happier person. I definitely think without the program, my relationship with my son would be not a very good relationship at all, not a very positive, loving, motherly relationship.
Yeah, praise God. Praise God that He
Yes.
led you to the podcast and you took the scary step to invest in the coaching program and your life has changed a lot. And I can just see it
Yeah.
on your face and with your words and just the way that you talk about your family. And you're a pleasant person to be around instead
Yes.
of feeling negative and grumpy.
Yes.
And critical, you are a positive, pleasant person to be around. And it took work. It took a lot of internal work. So, what was your biggest takeaway from
Oh.
this internal work that you did on yourself for the last, several months? What was your biggest takeaway?
Um, just that, it's okay to need help. It's okay to ask. It's okay to reach out, and it's worth it for your family and your children. You only get one chance. And my only regret is I didn't do it sooner because there was years of bitterness and resentment and control and negativity. But just to take the step, just to do what is best for you and your family, because I honestly don't think without it, my relationship with my family would be where it's at today. And I feel like they have kind of forgotten about the old me. They never bring up, you remember when you used to do this? Remember when I was not good enough and you criticized me for everything? And that is such a blessing because that was one thing that I had worried about. Well, I've done this for so long. I mean, I've ruined everything. And it's not true. You can fix it and you can make it better, and your life can be much happier.
Yeah. Yes, and we can positively influence our husband and our kids. We can't control them, we can't make them change their ways, but we can positively influence them. It is impossible for you to do the work on yourself and for
Hmm.
that not to positively influence your home. It's just not going to happen. If you're doing the work on yourself, if your husband, for example, was somebody who had anger issues and all of a sudden he started to intentionally work on himself and change his ways and shift his perspective, the way that he talks and responds, and having like encouraging positive words. It might take you a little while to trust that this is a new normal, but that would drastically influence you as a wife because you can't continue to do what you're doing if he is doing things differently. It doesn't work that way. You're going to be positively influenced. So
Right.
there's a mama today that's listening to this episode and she feels stuck and hopeless in anger. And she feels like she can never change.
Mhm.
What do you want her to know?
Oh, just that to make the commitment to change. I mean, it can be done. It's not always easy, and it's just because you do the work and doesn't mean that every day is perfect. But gosh, it's so worth it. It's like a night and day difference for me and my family, and I'm so grateful. And just the heaviness of all that she may be carrying, it's just, it's time to let it go and get the help. And it's 3 months. I mean, it's not that long, but it's so worth it. It really is.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you coming
Yeah.
on the show and sharing your story, even though it does feel a little bit uncomfortable. It's a
Yeah.
little vulnerable to share our story with this struggle because anger brings up a lot of uncomfortable feelings. And I am so grateful for your courage to do that.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
yeah, just to share your story, there is a mama that's listening to your episode today, and she feels so hopeful
Mhm.
that this is possible for her, that she's not meant to stay stuck in negativity and control and feeling out of control and this anger, that there is hope for her. And with putting in the work and with like praying and asking God to come alongside you, because we do both. We put in the
Yeah.
work and there's a spiritual aspect of this too. And having the community of other moms and the support, it is possible to make these
Yes.
positive changes. So, Mama, if you are listening to this and you're like, I am ready, I am so ready, I want to do the work, I want to encourage you to book a free consultation call with me. It's a free call. Come on the call, share your story. If I think my program is the next best step for you, I will invite you in and you get to decide if this is something that you need. It's your choice. So, Brandi, thank you so much for being here. I'm so
Thank you.
grateful.
Yes, thank you for having me, and thank you for everything.
You're welcome. Hey, Mama, do you find yourself snapping over the smallest things, like spilled milk or constant whining, then feeling horrible afterwards? If you're tired of losing your temper and you want to show up with more patience, I have something for you. It's a free training called How to Be More Patient with Your Kids so you're not screaming over spilled milk. Inside, I'll walk you through 10 simple things you can start doing today to become a calmer, more Christ-like mom, even on the hard days. To get it for free, just leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts and send a screenshot to hello@emotionallyhealthylegacy.com. Or if you'd rather skip the wait, you can grab it right now for just $27. The link is in the show notes. Let's help you become the peaceful, patient mom your kids need.